it, I was stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it, I was stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it, I was stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it, I was stuck in the matrix. Man, my auntie passed last night. This is a sad life, I'm trying to get my cash.
Yo, what's good? It's your boy B-Dell. Today we're going to be talking about the astrological prophecies that's orchestrated by planet Nibiru. So if you're new to this channel, hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. So this prophetic divination is connected to the allegorical mythologies that's propagated by religion. So the extensive solar transmission that's in the planet, it basically dismantles the dragon ley lines, which is the draconian reptilian net that's connected to the electrical power grid, because the electrical power grid is the false light. And the false light is being engineered by the subatomic particles of the photons that hits the retinas of the eyes, and it goes into the optical nerve, which produces an artificial time analysis mechanism that is produced by the two physical eyes. So the sleep spell in itself is connected to the energy grid, the sleep spell of Kingu. So ladies and gentlemen, we finna get straight to it. We felt to get straight to it. So now, as the planet is terraforming, as the planet is going through this metamorphic shift, right, which is connected to prophetic divination, because you have the orbital spectrum of 3,600 years of when Nibiru, or planetx, or whatever you want to call it, the mothership, enters our solar system. So it says right here that the sun's binary twin returns during the brown dwarf star, the last lap around the Saturnian, right? And it's also talking about how 11,000 years ago is when historians go back to the fact that you had your so-called Noah's flood, which is the foundation and the ideology of a pole shift that took place during that time period, because it was all being orchestrated by the solar transmission of the sun that's activated by planet Nibiru, because planet Nibiru has an autonomous gravitational field, and that gravitational field is in an omicron and a delta state, which is a lot more stronger than the oxidated atmosphere that we're living in right now. So in the Old Testament, planet Nibiru was called the Destroyer. In the New Testament, planet Nibiru was called Wormwood. The ancient Greeks call it Nemesis. The Sumerians called it Nibiru, because that's also some of the inception point of the mythology that's connected to prophecy when you're talking about these stories. And then you have the Hopi prophecy when they're talking about the red star Kachina. And then you have the Andy Lloyd calls it the dark star. And then in layman terms, you call it planetx, or when you're talking about the mothership, which was a ideological construct that's connected to the teachings of Elijah Muhammad and Dr. Malachi Z. York, right? So this is why, during this time, you had a Carrington event, which was a geometric storm that took place back in 1859. So that storm in itself is what basically caused the EMP attack on a certain geographical location that knocked out the great majority of the electrical grid. So this is why Donald Trump, he activated the emergency broadcast system, right? Back when he was during the presidency, because he basically knows that there's going to be a disruptive event that's going to be taking place to where the world is going to be at its knees due to the grid shutting down because these people know that, you know, all this stuff is connected to cosmology and astrological alignments. So this is why senators issue satellite phones, which is offered demonstrations to upgrade security devices, because they know that the electrical grid is going to go down. So it's not a coincidence or a conspiracy that congressmen, you know, got these satellite phones, right? So this is why you're starting to see a lot of solar storms, sunspot activity, because the sunspot activity in itself is the mother energy. The mother energy, because when you have the Schumann resonance spike going from 7.83 megahertz frequency and intensifying and going up to 13.13 megahertz frequency, that is the queen mother seat. That's the seal of the mother, which is the divine feminine energy that's hitting the planet, to where you have this ideological construct when you're talking about the biblical prophecy of a new heaven and a new earth in Revelations, right? So the unstable sunspot activity could soon explode. So this is, like I said, it's all connected to the fact that the high magnetic flux and powerful X class solar flares. Notice you got the word the letter X right there, because X is also connected to let me go back. X is also connected to the symbology of judgment. I talked about that when I was talking about the solar eclipses, right? Because the verification period of when the solar eclipse lands on my birthday, that is the inception point of judgment, right? The scales of justice, which is a Libra energy, because the next solar eclipse that we're going to have is on October 14th. And then the precursor to that is going to put an X over the planet, right? On April 8th, when you have another solar eclipse that's going to be taking place. That is the symbology of judgment. So that's why you see right here, X-class solar flares starting to erupt. These coronal mass ejections is basically upgrading the planet. And the judgment in itself is when the planet is in a state of chaos, and chaos energy is activated by the divine mother, because everything got to go right back in balance. Now, to some theological context, when you go to the keys of Enoch, self-realized man understands why our star is a buffer, right? So the buffer in itself, meaning that the star, which is a sun, our sun in our solar system, it basically is an electromagnetic generator where it upgrades the body. So this is where you're going to see the great majority of people have another great awakening, right? And an awakening in itself is due to the fact that you have the dematerialization of the electrical grid, because the grid is what put, you know, the great majority of humanity in a sleep spell, right? The electrical illusion that's being controlled by the simulation of the matrix system, right? So this is where you tap into the spirit of Melchizedek, right? When you reap the benefits of that green Etherian energy, right? Which is connected to the heart chakra. And this is where you reap the benefits of your higher senses. Your higher senses are basically subjugated due to the electrical grid, but the illusion has got to be destroyed because it's all based on prophecy, right? So self-realized man understands why our star is a buffer, which shuts out direct input and output messages emanating the divine, right? Which is basically the sun as a reactor. A buffer outputs messages in the higher memory functions that's basically simultaneously connected to the incarnations in our other realities, right? So this sun, like I said, it has a quark star energy to where it can manipulate the fragment of time and merge in dimensions to where you can tap into your higher self, right? Now, the plague of darkness, Exodus 10:21. The Lord said to Moses, stretch out your hand toward the sky so that the darkness spreads over Egypt. Egypt is actually America. America is one of the, it's actually the oldest geographical landmass on the planet. Darkness that can be felt. What is that darkness? That darkness is when you have the electrical grid is going down. So this is why I tell people all the time that the Bible is actually a Freemasonic playbook that's based on a heliocentric doctrine, right? It's a multi-layered book. Heliocentric, when you're talking about the sun is basically going to be the precursor to the end of the people that controls the system, which is the Canaanite bloodline, who is doing the bidding of the black nobility draconian archons. Now, this is why it says no one could see or anyone else can move for 3 days when you're talking about the 3 days of darkness. Yet all the Israelites had the light in places where they live. What is the light? The light is activated by the heart chakra. That's why you see superheroes, they always got the emblem on their chest, because that heart chakra is where you tap into your higher senses and your higher abilities. But that's why, like I said, as the planet is going through a terraforming process, this is where you tap back into that energy, right? It's because it's all being activated by the heart chakra, which is the love frequency. You got to love yourself intuitively in order to tap into your spiritual gifts. You can't be a hater in the higher dimensions. You see what I'm saying? Because now this is why I got to show you something. This is why I got to show you something. Because when you watch the movie Predator, right? Predator, when he seen people that was vibing on the same frequency as him, or the same that comes from the same demographic or star system, he's seen the green Etherian energy, because he had a thermodynamic eye spectrum to where he could see beyond the illusion in the three-dimensional construct. So everything that wasn't conducive in harmonizing with planet Earth, they basically vibrated on the red frequency. So that's why he was killing a lot of them off, because the great majority of those people who was colonizing that landmass, they were part of the military force. When you watch the movie Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger in it, right? So anything that's vibrating on the energy of red, which is connected to the root chakra, right? This is why, like I said, they're not harmonizing with the planet. They're not working in symbiotic connection with the circadian rhythm and the biorhythm of the planet. So they were basically a cancer to the planet. So this is why the planet is going through a shift. Only those who are vibrating on the green Etherian energy are the ones that's going to reap the benefits of activating the 144,000 crystals in the brain, which is the chosen people. And that, because the heart and the mind works in symbiotic connection, because that's the sheer form of balance when the planet is going right back into balance, right? I had to show you that right there. Now we're going to get right back to where we left off, right? So this is we're talking about the plague of darkness. No one could see anyone else or move about for 3 days. Yet all the Israelites had the light in places where they live. Your soul is encapsulated inside of a physical vessel, right? So in order to tap in to the green Etherian energy, you got to tap into the spirit of Melchizedek, right? Which is your higher self that's connected to your higher senses, that's activated by the heart chakra, right? Keep going. Now, when you understand the science of the end times, eschatology, it talks about the 3 days of darkness, and this is all being propagated by a monotheistic religion, because I told you the religion in itself is connected to Freemasonry, and Freemasonry understands the dynamics of astrological alignments, because they know that these prophecies is basically going to foretell their end in the end times. So this is why I talked about the prophecy parallels in the 10 plagues against Egypt in the book of Exodus, right? The Apocalypse of John also mentions a plague, unnatural darkness, as an effect of the sixth seal, right? And that sixth seal is when the electrical grid goes down, right? So this is basically a private revelation that's connected to everything that's taking place on the planet. So this is why you're starting to see the sun, that's producing Etherian gases, right? This is why the sun is at solar maximum, right? This is why Congress is basically giving out these phones. See, the only thing, you got to understand the dichotomy between an EMP and a CME. A CME has the ability to shut down the power grid all around the planet. An EMP has the ability to shut down the power grid in a certain geographical landmass, right? So, and the reason I say that is because this is also connected to the MasterCard. Everybody been seeing this picture going around, because they know that the binary star system in itself is what's going to put the planet back in balance. And when the planet back in balance, that basically dematerializes the financial infrastructure that's connected to the illusion, that's connected to the electrical power grid, that must go down because the sun is at solar maximum, right? So this is why their systems of control has to basically be dismantled, right? Because everything they do goes against nature. So with that being said, this is where I bring in this this ideology of what happened. Remember when Donald Trump, he orchestrated a hit on Soleimani, who was basically the top general for Iran, right? And it says right here verbatim that Iran warns of revenge for the U.S. killing Soleimani, right? Now, this is where it gets crazy because this happened 3 years ago. A lot of people forgot about this. A lot of people forgot, about this, that assassination that took place, right? Which is also connected to a psychological operation to engineer a new world order governmental system under a totalitarian feudalistic technocracy. So now, this is why it says right here, mourners chanted death to America with the general's daughter warning the United States will face a dark day, right? And a dark day is basically talking about the electrical power grid going down. So that's how you know that it's going to be orchestrated by our own government, right? So eventually there's going to be an EMP that's going to be orchestrated by our government. And then you're going to have an actual CME that's going to shut down this whole system. And that's going to be the precursor to the beginning points of the pole shift, the beginning when you're talking about mass calamity. So now this is why it says the funeral ceremonies begin held for 3 days, because everything operates in threes. Everything is based on a trilateral connection. So this is why it says it's going to be a dark day for America, because like I said, Soleimani, he was basically the general, the top general for Iran. And who was Iran allies with? Russia, right? You can't make this up. So this is why you have Vladimir Putin meeting with Ali Khamenei, right? So the Russian Empire is connected to the strategic allies of Iran, and they basically formed an alliance to where the Russia and the military they use each other for the chief weaponry, and they use each other for supplies and things of that nature. When you're talking about weapons that's connected to the Russian Federation, which is also connected to the KBG, right? So now, this is why it's imperative to understand. This is why I got to pull this up. We're going to get back to the slides here in a second. Now, this is in the news.
The nation's intelligence agencies are warning of cyber threats from Russia and are urging U.S. critical infrastructure.
She's warning cyber threats from Russia. Who is Russia in cahoots and allies with? Iran, what I just showed you. I'm going to keep it going. I'm going to play it back again.
The nation's intelligence agencies are warning of cyber threats from Russia and are urging U.S. critical infrastructure defenses to be reinforced. As CBS's Bill Whitaker reported on Sunday night's 60 Minutes, it wouldn't take much to throw the entire country into darkness.
The shutdowns can cascade like dominoes. How many would it take to knock out putting the entire country in a blackout? Less than.
Well, tonight, the nation's
So that's why I'm saying everything is connected. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, once again, Illuminati. I'm on to you. I'm on to you. But back to the slides. Now, like I said, that's why Russia is basically copulating the resources in their weaponry with Iran, because they allies, right? So now, so this is why the World Economic Forum had conducted a simulation of that very event, a cyber attack that brings the global financial system to its knees. So this is also the inception point of the banking system, or the material world basically starting to dematerialize, right? To where they can usher in a different currency system. So this is also connected, to the pole shift. This is also connected to a new matrix system that's under a technocratic society. So now, what is a cyber pandemic, right? Now you had the World Economic Forum basically popularize the term a cyber polygon, which was basically an event that took place. So they already performed many different simulations about what's going to be taking place, because art imitates reality, and reality in itself is also the precursor to many different psychological operations that must take place on the planet that's being propagated by the government. So when they practice and they do these exercises, that's because it's really going to happen. Right? So now this is why you have the geopolitical instability raises threat of catastrophic cyber attack in the next 2 years. Now, this publication came out in 2021. So cybersecurity is increasingly influencing how and where businesses invest, with the have reevaluating the countries they do business with. So you got 93% of the cybersecurity experts and 80% of business leaders believe global geopolitical instability is likely to lead the catastrophic cyber attack in the next 2 years, right? Which is also synonymous to 2023 because this publication came out in 2021, right? So all this stuff, you know what I'm saying, is basically taking place, but it's only a matter of time. You know what I'm saying? It's only a matter of time when all this stuff is going to be taking place because, like I said, all this stuff is connected to a prophetic divination, right? Now, we can go back. So yeah, now since we brought up the World Economic Forum, now this video came out 2 years ago. I showed this video once before, but in order to galvanize, you know, all the pieces to the puzzle, you know what I'm saying, you got to bring back old material and merge it in with new material to where you can give people a better perspective of what's actually taking place on the planet.
Finding that we found is that 93% of cyber leaders and 86% of cyber business leaders believe that the geopolitical instability makes a catastrophic cyber event likely in the next 2 years. This far exceeds anything that we've seen in previous surveys.
Right? So like I said, this is what you call the Great Reset, right? That is what you call this is what you call a Great Reset. Because a Great Reset in itself is when you have the electrical grid goes down. So this is why I got to bring this up, right? This is why you see the great majority of the infrastructure of businesses starting to shut down. You got Gap closing down, Victoria's Secret, Bath and Body Works, Forever 21, Sears, Walgreens, GameStop, Pier 1 Imports, Nordstrom, Papyrus, Chico's. All these businesses are shutting down. Macy's, Bose, all these businesses and enterprises starting to shut down because they know that we're at the inception point of a Great Reset. And the Great Reset in itself is being activated by the energy of the sun, or it's going to be activated by an artificial, you know, psychological operation that's being controlled by the government. Hold on. So now, this is why you have Victoria's Secret declared bankruptcy. This is why Zara closed 1,200 stores. You know, this is all this stuff is starting to take place. Chanel discontinue, Hermes discontinue, Rolex discontinue production, right? We're basically in the inception point of the collapse in itself, which is connected to a pole shift. And the pole shift is activated by the energy of the what? The sun. So this is where, you know, things are starting to get a little crazy. So this is why the world's luxury industry has crumbled. Nike has a total of $23 billion US dollars preparing for the second stage of layoffs, right? Hold on. Right? Gold's Gym filed bankruptcy. You know what I'm saying? Everything that's taking place because they know these businesses, these enterprises know all the stuff is getting ready to be taking place. Because these people who run these businesses and these corporations, they understand the dynamics of astrology, right? They understand the dynamics of cosmology because the great majority of these people are actually Freemasons and Eastern Stars. So you got Starbucks announced to close 400 stores. You know, Nissan Motor Company closed down in the U.S. This is a Great Reset because they know we're going through a great awakening. Then you got big trucking companies filing bankruptcy. You know what I'm saying? You got people committing suicide. You got JCPenney filed bankruptcy to be acquired by Amazon for pennies. Then you got the biggest investor in the world, Warren Buffett, lost $50 billion in the last 2 months, right? Everything, you know what I'm saying? You're starting to see that everything is starting to reverse the polarity because the sun has the ability to reverse the polarity of the lunar cycle because the lunar cycle is phasing out and the lunar cycle is the foundation of the material world, which is the artificial time analysis mechanism, right? So this is why you got the biggest investment company in the world, BlackRock, basically signaling a disaster of an economic collapse, right? All this stuff is taking place. So this is why you have the Treasury printing trillions to try to keep the economy on life support. So the media is not telling you nothing. You know what I'm saying? Why is this your first time hearing about everything when you come to this channel, right? Why, you know, all these businesses and these corporations and enterprises starting to shut down? That's because the material world is acclimated to the lunar cycle, but the lunar cycle has to phase out because you have the new energy from the solar cycle that's being activated by Nibiru, right? Or what you many call it, you know, the mothership and things of that nature. So this is why all this stuff is starting to take place. Now we're going to get back into some more videos.
Security is warning of a potential troubling escalation in tactics from right-wing extremists. Catherine Herridge has more on this, and she joins us from Washington. Catherine, we understand the power grid could be a target?
Good morning. According to the intelligence report obtained by CBS News, these groups have developed credible and specific plans to attack the power grid since at least 2020 as a way to disrupt the country and the ability of government to operate. The report warns extremists adhering to a range of ideologies will likely continue to plot and encourage physical attacks against power networks, which include more than 6,400 plants and nearly 500,000 miles of high voltage lines. While the bulletin emphasized small-scale attacks are unlikely to cause widespread power loss, it may cause disruption to critical infrastructure like hospitals and police departments. Homeland Security noted several indicators, including online chatter. While the report does not suggest an imminent threat, the Homeland Security Secretary has warned lone wolf actors and small bands of extremists are among the greatest domestic threat because they are hard to detect, disrupt, and can mobilize quickly.
Pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of comprehensive cyber attack, which will bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole.
So this is why all that stuff is taking place right now, right? This is why all that stuff is starting to take place. Because like I said, you're going through a reset on the planet. And the reset in itself is going to be orchestrated by the government or it's going to be orchestrated by the sun. Like, oh, I already did that. Let's see. So like I said, once you understand that all technological devices, that's why I tell people, stay off the airplane. Y'all gotta, I'm not gonna tell y'all no more. I understand y'all want to live y'all best life and things of that nature. But like I said, what do you think is gonna happen when the power grid goes down? All material things is acclimated to the energy grid. So if the grid is having a lot of malfunctions, what do you think is gonna happen to these airplanes, to everything is connected to, you know, matter of fact, you got to watch that. There's a movie that came out. I forgot the name of it, but it tells you about when the grid went down, you had a lot of airplane crashes. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, I understand y'all want to take trips and go on vacations, but if you really got to go somewhere that bad, just stay in your car. You know, drive somewhere. But I'm gonna play this video.
God have mercy on us. This is exactly what I fear next. The falling of one, may the source take them in kindly and watch over their families.
You see? Please ignore him. Off the screen. But this is what's taking place right now. You know, so this is why, like I said, you got to stay off those airplanes, because when you have a malfunction with the grid due to the energy of the sun being activated by solar maximum coronal mass ejections that's hitting the planet, you're going to have a malfunction of, you know, technological devices. You're going to have a malfunction in cars and things of that nature. I believe it's something else I got to tell you. So like I said, this is also connected to the fact that you the energy grid in itself is what puts you under the sleep spell of King Gu, to where you cannot see beyond the illusion, because the electrical grid works in symbiotic connection with the lunar cycle, because the lunar cycle basically stagnates the two frontal lobes of the brain where you got your higher senses, which is connected to the Bathari gland, right? So this is why when you put on those shades, right, because what is sunglasses made of? It's made of black synthetic matter, and the black synthetic matter is extracted from melanocytes, and the melanocytes is connected to the neuromelanin that sits inside the pineal gland that activates the spiritual eye. So that's why when he put on the sunglasses, he was able to see beyond the illusion that is propagated by the two physical eyes that's being subjugated by the electrical grid. So, like I said, when the electrical grid goes down, this is where you can see beyond the illusion. This is where you can see things for what it truly is, because the illusion is connected to material. So this is why you got the banks, you know, foreclosing, like Silicon Valley. This is why you have these corporations and these enterprises. They're basically starting to shut down. Why? Because the material world is galvanized by the energy of the lunar cycle, because the lunar cycle is starting to phase out, because now we in the last solar cycle, because it's the end of the 24,000 verification period, right? So you got to watch this movie if you've never seen it. It's called They Live. He put on the sunglasses. He was able to see beyond the illusion. When he takes off the sunglasses, he was able to see the illusion. I mean, he was basically subjugated by the illusion, right? Meaning he wasn't able to see the truth, because black synthetic matter is basically neuromelanin, right? So like I said, Chase reports technical issue that could take 5 hours to resolve. Like I said, these new energies that's coming to, you know, hitting the planet, this solar transmission, these new energies, these coronal mass ejections, is starting to dematerialize the illusion on the planet. And the illusion in itself is actually the money, because the money ain't worth nothing, because it hasn't been backed by a natural resource since 1934, right? So this is why all this stuff is actually starting to take place, right? So this is why, you know, for those coming in, I'm going to show you these two videos here in a second. So like I said, this is all connected to the money system, right? Because, you know, the inception point to the end is actually conducive to the fact that when we have everything is going to be activated by a binary star system. So when you have Nibiru or planetx, whatever you want to call it, the mothership, it's basically going to balance the planet off. So this is why you look at the Master card, because it's showing you the symbology of what's going to be taking place in the future, because they know that when you have the mothership Nibiru or planetx coming to our solar system, that basically evaporates the illusion that's being controlled by the monetary system, which is controlled by the banking system, because money is the illusion. And the illusion in itself is what keeps people spiritually subjugated, because now they're looking for external validation instead of internal validation. Because the real, you know, spiritual currency in itself is going to be activated by the energy of the sun. So this is why the World Economic Forum, for those who coming in, this is why the World Economic Forum is telling you that it's inevitable that the grid is going to go down. It has to, because you can't have a reset. You can't have a great reset when you still operating on an old system. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's going to be orchestrated by the government or it's going to be orchestrated by nature, something's got to take place because the grid got to go down. And you're going to see it in your lifetime, whether you believe that or not. I'm going to play the video.
Most striking finding that we found is that 93% of cyber leaders and 86% of cyber business leaders believe that the geopolitical instability makes a catastrophic cyber event likely in the next 2 years. This far exceeds anything that we've seen in previous surveys.
Yeah. So we've had a see, the thing is, America's had we've had a recession, we had a depression, but we never had a dollar collapse, right? So that's a wholly different, total different ball game, right? So for those coming in, I'm gonna play this video also.
The nation's intelligence agencies are warning of cyber threats from Russia and are urging U.S. critical infrastructure defenses to be reinforced. As CBS's Bill Whitaker reported on Sunday night's 60 Minutes, it wouldn't take much to throw the entire country into darkness.
The grid is a sprawling target. There are actually 3 in the U.S., the Eastern, Western, and Texas has its own.
And I need you to also understand this is also connected to eugenics. The eugenics system in itself is acclimated to the material world, because when you have the people who have a veneration to the material world, they're going to be operating from a place of conformity. And the conformity in itself is when you get these diabolical I don't want to say the word, but when you get these, what's inside your body, that basically puts an encryption on your anatomy. So when we was in the state of when we had that back in 2020, when you had the crisis that took place or whatever, that's when you started to inject nanotechnology in you. So when you have a power grid system goes down and you have the nanotechnology, right, inside your biological structure, you're going to go down when the energy grid goes down, right? Because that's the foundation of transhumanism. Because transhumanism in itself is a form of forgot what they call it. It's basically it's like a form of a technocracy, right? So where you merge humans with cybernetics, and when you merge humans with cybernetics, that's when they're basically being controlled by artificial intelligence, and the artificial intelligence is being controlled by the energy grid. So what happens is when you have these nano particles and technologies in your molecular structure, when the grid shuts down, you're going to go down with it. So that's why, it tells you in the Georgia Guidestones that at least, 75 to 85% of humanity has to basically be dismantled and destroyed in order to preserve the resources of the elite. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, things are starting to get very serious. So it's very imperative that you have to utilize the resources that you have. You have to start, amalgamating with many different people to put your resources together, because it's only a matter of time before that energy grid goes down. So when the grid goes down, you want to have, teams of people in different states and different counties to where y'all can galvanize your resources and put them together. You know what I'm saying? You got this person who's dealing with all the water. You got this person who's dealing with the canned goods and things of that nature. You got this person over here who is, gardening and putting out, intrinsic information to where it can help us survive, the pole shift in itself. Because like I said, when the energy grid goes down, right, a lot of people are going to be in a state of destabilization. And so when you're in a state of destabilization, that activates the root chakra, which is the fight or flight. So people are going to be in a survival state. So when you're in a survival state, this is where you start to propagate your lower nature. right? So, like I said, man, galvanize your resources. You know what I'm saying? Get matches. You know what I'm saying? When the grid goes down, you can't operate a car that's made after 1975. So, you know what I'm saying? Get an older car. Just, find an older car you see somewhere on Facebook or Facebook Market or something. Get you like a 1974 or a 1970, you know what I'm saying, Buick or something. Because like I said, you want to be able to have some type of mobility when the system shuts down. That way you can, be more resourceful to your community when you got to go out and get other resources from other communities. So, get food. You know what I'm saying? You don't know when this stuff is going to happen, but it's inevitable. The World Economic Forum said 2 years ago that it's inevitable that we're going to face a disruptive event that's going to be taking place all around the planet, or it can just be subjugated in a certain geographical landmass. So that's what one thing you got to understand with people. You got to understand the diametrical difference between a CME and an EMP. A CME is a coronal mass ejection that is being orchestrated by a fifth dimensional energy from the 19th galaxy and basically dismantling everything in the third dimension, which is your foundation of a new heaven and a new earth. So the CME, these coronal mass ejections, has the ability to knock out the power grid all over the planet. An EMP has the ability to shut down the power grid in a certain geographical location, but it's not all around the planet. So either way it goes, like I said, the inception point to the judgment of America starts on October 14th on my birthday, where you have a solar eclipse, which is basically the precursor in the alley oop to April 8th, which is another solar eclipse that's basically going to put an X over the planet, right? And that X over the planet is the foundation of judgment, which is planetx, or the mothership Nibiru, right? So I cannot make this up. Everything when you look at everything from a holistic point of view, everything lines up. Everything lines up. You don't have to just be so fixated on the publications of the Bible. You don't have to be so fixated on religion. You don't have to be so fixated on nothing. You got to look at this thing. You can't be one-dimensional in order to get an intuitive understanding about what's going to be taking place on the planet, because what's getting ready to take place, people are not ready for it. A lot of people going to be operating from a place of fear because they didn't prepare, because they seen everything as a conspiracy. They seen everything as a joke. They seen everything, you know what I'm saying, as entertainment. It's not by accident that they put all these messages in the movie. It's not by coincidence that they put everything in these fictional books. You know, they got to get the information from somewhere. That's because they have all the ancient esoteric information inside the Vatican. So this is why you have, the FBI, they work in symbiotic connection with the Vatican police in order to extract the information to where they can put these stories and stuff inside these movies, because like I told you, the CIA has an office in Hollywood and Hollywood has an office in the CIA. So everything that's taking place on the planet, they got to show you the truth, whether it be in the news, where I was just showing you news clips, whether it be in a movie, whether it be in a book. They got to give you the truth, but it's up to you to have the mental and spiritual fortitude to activate the spiritual eye to see beyond the illusion. Everybody cannot see beyond the illusion because, like I tell people all the time, it's only a certain amount of people on the planet who are basically organic and authentic humans, right? Who have the ability to tap into the spirit of Melchizedek and tap into the space-time continuum and activate their spiritual eye to where they can see beyond the illusion. Everybody don't have the ability to do that. Everybody don't have the ability to do that. And the reason I say that is because you have some people on this planet who are basically bots or basically NPCs, right? Non-player characters, right? So they're basically created to protect the system in itself. They're created to go against people like me and you, for the people who's watching this video. That is what they was created for. They were created for that whole dynamic in itself, to protect the Saturn Moon Matrix system. They was here to protect the artificial time analysis mechanism. They was created to do that. So that's why I'm saying it's only going to be a certain demographic is going to reap the benefits of spiritual atonement of the 144,000 crystals in the brain when you get these DNA and these genetical activations. But those activations is not going to be taking place until the electrical grid goes down. So that's when you're going to be able to decipher who's who and what's what. Who's the real ones, who's the real chosen ones, and who's the artificial humans on the planet that's trying to propagate the illusion that's basically starting to basically dismantle as we get, into the future. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this video. Get this video out there. This is a very important video because, a lot of things is going to be taking place, and a lot of stuff, a lot of people is not really ready for it. So get this video out there, share the video, comment. If you got questions about any other ideas or whatever, what type of video I should do or what I should be talking about, you know what I'm saying? Let me know in the comments, or you can hit me up on Instagram personally at BDL1014 on Instagram. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, end of transmission.